These past few fucking days have been complete bullshit. Shit. Well, welcome to the monthly live podcast and shit. And I came this fucking close to not going on the air today. It has been like one fucked up thing after another the past couple, pretty much since yesterday afternoon. I just want to kind of lay all of that out at first. Welcome to all of you here in the chat. Let's see who we got so far real quick. We got Bull, we got Keto, Andy UK, Adrian, Jody, Michelle. Hi from, all the way from Australia. That's awesome. It must be like 1 a.m. there or something, or I don't know. That's a lot of math. And anyways, I want to I've got a whole bunch to talk about today, and it's Sunday, so I can go a little while, and we can make this last. But first thing you're going to notice, and this is probably the biggest thing that's pissed me off for the past day, is, like, I don't have any fucking background graphics on here because my hard drive crashed. I have an external hard drive that I store a lot of my video shit on. So I lost, I don't know if it's lost yet. I got 6 hours of check disk repairs to hopefully get my data back, because I was copying it over to another fucking hard drive, and then in the middle of it, it just tanked and froze, and then when I tried to get back in, it was corrupt, and I've done everything I could fucking think of to get it to work. So yeah, I might have to redo all my titles, all my graphics, all my backgrounds for my green screens, so I'm not happy about that. And on top of that, I had, I wasn't too happy with some client work I recently had. I'm not going to get into details on that, but let's just say that was my yesterday. I wasn't happy. So, yes, getting on here and talking to you guys for 2 hours is a bit of a chore, but I'm going to do the best I can. So I got a couple of topics I want to talk about today. The first thing I want to talk about is, I might be a little bit of the fact that I'm on the downside of mood. It's getting hard to really reconcile this uphill battle for public health. I mean, we've been struggling against all of this shit for ourselves, obviously, and we want to see those that we care about, our friends and loved ones, get on board, and a lot of them aren't. More now than have been, and I will say we've made tremendous strides, but then you see the bullshit that corporations are pulling that are just continuing to destroy our health. So even if we get our nutrition right, whatever that may be, whether it's fucking carnivore or fucking keto or fucking vegan or fucking Whole Foods, or Whole Foods plant-based, or the Canadian fucking food guidelines, or my fucking fitness plate, if no matter what any of those we do, there's still a lot of things in our environment, in our food environment, working against us. And one thing I've railed repeatedly about is, of course, glyphosate. And just a reminder, I can't read the chat till my talks are done, so chat amongst yourselves, and then I will do the Q&A after I get through. And I'm not going to spend too much time, maybe 45 minutes on my spiel today before I get to the Q&A, because I want to give you guys a lot of time to interact with me, ask questions, so on and so forth. I'm also going to be talking about my fat fast, obviously, and how that went, and when I ended it, how I broke it, my results, and all of that, so stay tuned. But I did want to go over this first because I think it's kind of important. the whole glyphosate thing, if you haven't researched it, you should, because it is a big problem. It is a big contributor to our negative gut health. If you have autoimmune problems, it's a big thing. It's why the damage occurred in the first place, in my opinion, when it comes to grain. Grain in and of itself causes problems, but then when you throw the glyphosate in the mix, it just skyrockets. And the first thing I want to show an example of in terms of glyphosate, and let me bring that up real quick. And so this chart right here shows just a comparison in the number of children 6 to 21 years old with autism plotted against the glyphosate use in corn and soy. And you can see right here, there is a fucking striking correlation there. I mean, it's like you could trace it almost directly. Ever since 1991 all the way up to, and it probably, if you were to graph this all the way to current times, it would rise all the way up accordingly. And, to the point where we're predicting 1 in 3 children are going to have autism. And, not to mention the fact it can permeate your gut wall. It can tear up your intestinal lining. It can destroy your gut bacteria. It's also patented as an antibiotic. It binds to minerals, presenting your absorption of them. It sticks to the minerals in your bones and in your collagen. And it's horrible. It's a horrible chemical. But that's just one fucking chemical. So I stumbled across this shit. This is probably the beginning of the downslide of my mood yesterday. I'm going to play a little bit of it. The link for this will eventually, it's not in the description yet because I haven't done my description. But by the time, if you're watching this later, this will be in the description. But it's called The Devil We Know. And it's about DuPont in this chemical called C8, also known as PFOA. So let me just play this real quick.
State of West Virginia issued
Thank you, Lori.
Company a permit for them to run their contaminated wastewater down through 2 farms here out into this stream of water. This is 151 of these animals that's died on this farm up here since this stuff's been coming down through this water. But they won't try to keep everything hushed up.
Disturbing as
Like
shit.
it's some kind of big secret of some kind that they're dumping it in here. They won't tell us what it is. They don't want to talk to me because...
Now, imagine the cows that were unaffected by it. Imagine the cows that made it to slaughter before these cows died. Now, granted, this is probably extreme fucking exposure, but this chemical is in all of us. This C8 bullshit. It got into the water, polluted most of the Midwest, and they've tested it in levels throughout the country and around the world, and it's a main ingredient for that no stick shit, that Teflon. And this documentary is just, I challenge you to watch this documentary and not get pissed off at corporate food companies and, manufacturing companies, because this is what we're up against for every fucking thing that we do in the health sphere. We're up against stuff like glyphosate and this C8, which has been banned, but we're going to get into that in a minute. It doesn't solve the fucking problem necessarily because, well, there'll be a spoiler alert on this, but, everything we do, corporations just kind of stay one step ahead because it's about the fucking Benjamins and shit.
I'm just an old dumb farmer. I'm not supposed to know anything. But it's not going to be covered up because I'm going to bring it out in the open for people to see.
American production has become the most efficient in the world. And as a result, our factories and industrial plants are turning out an ever-increasing amount of goods, things that people want and need.
DuPont research chemists developed a new and unique white substance. The result is the greatest advance in cookware.
DuPont Teflon.
Wow, she looks a little, little cray-cray there.
Here are
That's why I'm a minimalist also, by the way. That kind of craziness that was born in that times that is just carried on solidly and is partially responsible for this. You know, I can't blame these companies necessarily because we buy their shit. And the only way to stop them from doing this is to not buy their shit. And then they'll just change the shit that they do to try and get around that.
two different types of fry pans. This non-stick finish for cookware never needs scouring. All kinds of burned food come off quickly and easily.
Corn muffins don't.
Yeah, and hopefully you didn't scratch their fucking pan at any point and get that shit directly in your food.
Stick to Teflon. Fudge cakes don't stick to Teflon. Even sticky buns don't stick to Teflon. Almost nothing sticks to it.
DuPont Teflon saves me lots of dirty work. It's so easy to clean.
The seal means DuPont has approved the finish, that it's no stick and easy to...
But anyways, I highly recommend this, The Devil We Know. This person posted it. I don't know that this is the original publisher. It's obviously listed for BBC. You can probably find it on like Hulu, Netflix, or Amazon. But if you do a search for The Devil We Know and DuPont, you'll find this documentary. And it's about an hour and 20 minutes, and I was engrossed. But then again, I get triggered by this shit. So what is C8? What does it do to you? Well, first of all, it killed all that motherfucker's cows. And it's even listed, and the reason why it's banned now, and not to give away the ending, but I'm gonna, because some people aren't going to take an hour and 20 minutes, and you need to know this shit. So it was linked to testicular and kidney cancer, problems with fetus, especially birth defects. It's definitely heavy in the birth defect department. Early puberty, immune symptom problems, liver damage. Liver's pretty fucking important. I think we need a fucking liver. Yeah, I haven't been kind to mine, but we'll get to that a little later. When I talk about my fat fest. Ulcerative colitis. Now, I know a lot of people on YouTube that seem to be battling that are turning to the carnivore diet to find relief. Unfortunately, one of the things I think, that the carnivore diet won't ultimately heal, it might provide you relief because you're taking all the fiber out of your system and shit, and maybe not inflaming or aggravating the ulcer. But at the same time, it's not going to heal necessarily because this chemical it bioaccumulates. Once it's in you, it's fucking in you. They'll find it in your dead body like 100 years from now. That's literally how bad this chemical is, and we already got it. It's already in us. If you were born during that period where that was a big thing, then it's in you. And same thing with glyphosate. Glyphosate is in you. So it's more of a question of what do we do now than a question of prevention at this point. But these companies, they haven't, DuPont got fined $15 million or some shit for this. $15 million. That's nothing to them. They make billions. Billions with a fucking B. 15 million is like going to fucking the grocery store and picking up a 6-pack for them. Definitely not enough to make them rethink their ways. Sorry, I had to drink some coffee. It's probably glyphosate in it. Or DuPont's fucking jizz. But, I watch this and I'm pissed. I'm like, oh, fuck. I just spent all this time figuring out how to mitigate glyphosate. Now we got this fucking chemical, and who knows what other fucking chemicals we got to deal with. And if you want, and if you're watching this later, or even in the chat, if you want to bring it up later, and if you know something about some other chemicals that we're fucked with, I'm highly interested in researching this topic, because I'm honestly thinking of shifting my research a bit to try and figure out what in our food system, as opposed to just the normal foods, is really fucking us up. Now, obviously, the more you avoid processed foods, the more problems you avoid, but this stuff is in the water, this stuff is in Produce, this stuff is in your Whole Foods. Livestock are fed glyphosate-ridden fucking corn. Obviously, livestock were exposed to this chemical as well because they're drinking the water that was polluted. And so this chemical is still probably getting in your system because, to my knowledge, they haven't necessarily improved the levels of C8 in the water supply. 15 million tells me that DuPont didn't have to pay for cleanup, which is bullshit. So it's coming in. We're getting this shit. And thyroid disease, I mean, that's pretty common, I hear. It's stuff like this that really takes the wind out of my fucking sails. And ultimately, this chemical did get banned, but it's not gone anywhere. It's still in everything because there has been no cleanup. There's been no attempts to counter it. And then almost immediately after they got rid of this chemical, they immediately replaced it with another chemical that research on rat studies is showing does roughly the same shit. So if you have one of them no-stick pans, sorry to say. And that chemical is just like this one in that it's getting into all the water. It's getting in all of our food. It's getting in our fucking livestock. It's probably in the groundwater, which means it's getting into your plants and shit. And, I want to start figuring out what some of this shit does, because maybe some of this shit could explain why even on keto I was having certain symptoms that weren't getting full relief. And I think just about every diet has some kind of symptom that just, no matter how much you beat the shit out of it, isn't fucking going anywhere. And I think that this is why. So that's kind of, that's where I'm going with this on the channel going forward a little bit, and I started to get interested in this topic because I started to see I saw a bunch of stuff from fake foods in China and the things that they're doing over there, which kind of sometimes makes us look like angels, but I tend to think that we're just better at not getting caught than the Chinese are in terms of fake foods and putting chemicals and shit because of all the corruption in the food industry and in the FDA. And during this time period, DuPont even had one of their shills in the FDA. So they had like a free pass. It got to the point with the birth defects and the people suing and they were losing the class action lawsuit that the FDA had to fucking shut their ass down. But overall, they had to eventually just change. And all they did was just pay their little fine and reformulate to a new chemical that's probably just as fucking bad. We don't know exactly. And all they're going to do is push their science out that says, hey, this shit's good shit. So enjoy. Hopefully everything works well and shit. So I'm going to check in with chat real quick before we go on to our next topic real quick. Let's see here. I'm scrolling back a bit, see if anything cool popped up. Knuckles wrote, new research has shown that not only does insulin resistance cause diabetes, but now it's also shown to be responsible for leaky blood-brain barrier causing Alzheimer's. That is a true story. However, it is likely linked to pretty much eating a processed food diet at this point. If you're eating sugar in excess, you're drinking lots of alcohol, it all starts with the liver, and then it just fucking tanks your whole body as you build up that liver fat and that insulin resistance there. Then that spills out into your blood, then that spills out into your organs, and you build this insulin resistance over a great length of time. Most people aren't concerned with their shit until it's too late, until they're fucking sitting there with diabetes and they're like, oh fuck, I better do something. Which sucks because I see a lot of people now that I see that they're in the beginning stages, because I went through that phase, in my late 20s, early 30s. There was some things that sucked. There's some fucking symptoms that I didn't acknowledge. I'm like, I'm just getting old. Well, no. And I know that now because I feel better now than I did then. But everyone's so caught up in their vices now. The whole processed foods, bread, grain, and grain's the worst. The worst offender here, in my opinion. You can't do worse. If you took grain out of your diet, no matter what fucking diet you're on, if you take grain out of it, you're going to see a drastic improvement in health, and you might even lose some weight if you do this. And, I just think it's a good move. So if you took the grain out, like maybe all your fucking carbs came from like potatoes and vegetables and fruit, then I'd say you're ahead of the game there. But, that's just my opinion, because fuck grain and shit. Grain is fucking horse shit. So summer is on Thursday wrote, "What's this? Non-stick pans. I just bought some more of those, really quick to wash up." And, well, that's the problem. We buy the shit, right? So, and we buy it because we don't want to fucking clean shit up. I gotta get my fat. And so, instead of, enduring maybe another 10 minutes of labor, we buy this chemically laden shit, which causes them to make more of it. And they'll break all the rules. They'll dump the shit in water. They'll whatever they can do to make profit. Because they got boards to answer to. They got the stock exchange to answer to. And, that's why I've always said that the only way we can fix our food system, because we got these big conglomerates got control. You got Monsanto sharting all over industrial agriculture. You've got like maybe 3 or 4 companies that create most of the processed foods in your stores. The only way they change is if we change our spending habits. If we change what we buy and don't buy, that is the only way you will let them know. The problem is, like I was kind of saying, is people are so caught up in their food addictions, and they're wanting the grain, wanting the sugar, wanting the beer, wanting the alcohol. And, I'm not talking from some fucking soapbox here. I clearly haven't given up alcohol yet, but I know I have to eventually, if not soon. And, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. But, the longer we spend our money, these companies will not change. And not only that, the government will not make them change. They won't. Unless there's just something where we're dropping dead of some acute symptom. That's about the only time the government's going to step in and say, okay, you can't do that. Because they don't want us to die. That's lost revenue. But they don't care if we're sick, because that's lots of revenue. If we get long-term chronic disease, that's tons of revenue coming in to the government and to these companies. So, yeah, they won't kill us. Like, you won't get poisoned and you'll fucking drop dead a few days later. No, takes 10, 20 years. It's subtle. It drives up your medical costs. It drives up your prescription drug costs. It lowers your quality of life. And occasionally people die from it. And we're not doing anything about it, really, and that's why. It's because we continue to spend the money on the shit. And as long as the majority of people are doing that, which I'm hoping changes, I'm trying to not be a fucking, have this bleak outlook on shit. But it's hard when you keep coming across just chemical after chemical causing illness after illness, and companies just being complete fucking pricks about it. And defending tooth and nail their bottom line instead of saying, okay, maybe we're fucking some people up. Maybe we should stop, and maybe do some better research and maybe not bring unsafe products into our environment and the market. So I know that makes me more hippie-like, but, it is what it is. So I want to start kind of digging into that a little more. I've researched a lot about keto. I've researched a lot about carnivore. I feel like I've beat both of those to death. I am going to research a little more about raw, but I'm leaning away from a raw food diet at this point, mainly because I don't think it's necessary to eat raw meat unless I like it, and my steaks are very rare, like bloody red in the middle, cold in the middle usually. And I sear the outsides, and that's as raw as I want to get, because I solve most of my symptoms that I work on when I do that. So just to kind of bring that to your attention, the whole the whole problem that we're up against that steps outside, because I see a lot of us nutrition YouTubers, we're either talking the same shit over and over again and ignoring some of these larger issues. Like, I don't hear anything, like Dr. Berg, for example. I don't think I've heard him go off on glyphosate at all. Thomas DeLauer, who's supposed to be the science-based motherfucker, I don't hear him talking about these things either. And these are big players. These are big variables in the weight loss and health game. And for no one to be talking about it, to where I got to find, some obscure ostracized fucking scientists who retired before they started talking shit about it to find out about glyphosate, or listen to doctors who are considered heretics for it. But it's a real problem, and if you cut these foods that are like the dirty dozen out of your diet for glyphosate, or you cut any of these other foods out that are chemically laden, you will notice some of your symptoms abate, and you will begin the healing process a bit. But the problem is, like I said, it's in the water, it's in the environment, and until we get that shit cleaned up, we can only improve so much. So optimal health is pretty much fucking impossible. You might get to a point where you feel great, but you're not safe at that point. You still got to be vigilant about this kind of stuff and figure out how you can reduce, because dose usually does determine the poison. Even though it bioaccumulates over time, if you can keep your dose down, then maybe it takes longer before it has a severe effect on you. So just stuff to think about, really, and that's all you can do is change your spending habits. If you know, like, something's full of glyphosate or something's full of this shit or any other chemicals that you think and that you've researched that you find that are destroying you, and it could be different. Some of us tolerate some of this shit a lot better than others, but if you're having negative symptoms that aren't normal, that aren't something you should be having, don't just look at the nutrition side. Also look at the environment side. What are your local water? How is that doing? Because you're soaking in that shit. Even if you buy bottled water, and plus you don't know what's in that plastic fucking bottle, and you don't know what's in there, where they got that bottled water from, and how polluted or not polluted that is. It just kind of look around your environment too, because that's a factor I think a lot of us in the nutrition world are forgetting, are these chemicals in our environments, which also play a role in our health. And, you can do so much with diet and lifestyle, but I think when you roll up against these bigger, larger problems, I see people driving themselves nuts trying to heal shit, trying to improve their health, and they might legit be damaged from something like this that you won't be able to necessarily fix with nutrition on its own. Now, fasting, I believe, can help, but you can only fast for so long before you run out of body fat. So I guess you could just bulk up and build up some fat and then do, fasting cycles that way to try and clean out your system a bit. But I'm not even sure that some of these chemicals will be gotten rid of through fasting. It's hard to say. There's no research on this. There's no science on this that hasn't been done by the fucking company that's shitting all over us to begin with. And no one's going to fund that shit because there's no money in it. That's the problem with anything that's for public health. There's generally not fucking funding for it because it's not in anybody's profitable interest. So that's kind of what I'm going to now. So my fat fast, I was shooting for 7 days. Around the time I started to be a little moody about all the shit that's going wrong for me, I said, I think I'm just going to end the fast early and refeed. So I ended it at 5 days, and I broke my fast with a fucking, actually, let me put this up real quick while I'm doing this. And no, I'll put it up in a minute. Never mind. But I broke my fast with that steak that you see me doing in the video. That's pretty much one of my go-to meals at this point, along with 80% ground beef. So it was a ribeye. It was a good one. It was like a 1 pound ribeye I broke it with. Throwing caution to the wind, even though it was only 5 days. So I'm not anticipating that I was going to have any digestive problems, and I didn't. And I regained about 2 pounds from where I did lost during the fast, coming out right in my range again, in my set point range, which is 194 to 198. I bounce in between those, and as long as I keep bouncing in between those, I'm content. I don't have fucking abs. I'm probably not going to, because I have fatty liver, which we're gonna get to in a minute. But all right, Steve just put a comment here. Sorry. I get flagged when it asks me if it wants to block shit. So, I bounce in as long as I'm in that range, I'm happy, and I exceeded that range, which is why I did the fat fast. And the reason I exceeded that range is because I've probably exceeded a normal human being's level of alcohol consumption over the past couple months. And before we get into that, though, I want to explain for those that somehow aren't familiar at this point. I've gone over my fat fasting plan, but I wanted to show you that it's not a new concept. It's something that has been around since the Atkins book, and I want to show you his version in case you want to try his version. I'm a little more hardcore than his version. Because I base part of it on the fasting mimicking diet research as well. So I kind of combined the two to come up with my plan for fat fasting. But this plan was the original. So basically you're allowed 1,000 to 1,200 calories of fat per day. I go with about 600 to 800 myself. And it says only do 2 to 4 days. I've done up to 7 without a problem. But if you start feeling like shit after 4 or 5 days, go ahead and cut it off. And you'll lose roughly a pound a day, maybe a little more. And you might regain some of it slowly back. Obviously, you're going to lose a shit ton of water weight. That's the first thing that happened to me on this fat fast, is I had to fucking piss like nobody's business for for the first 2 days of the fast. I was apparently holding water weight. I don't know how, but probably being carnivore mostly tends to shift you more into that, holding on to a little more water. I use a lot of seasoning on my steak, so I get a lot of salt. I take magnesium baths. Plus, the carnivore diet is rich in minerals, so I'm getting all of my electrolytes in there, and with that comes water retention. So that's that. But I would say that, hey, if you found the 600 to 800 calories too hard, maybe this will work for you. I don't know. I tend to go a little bit on the extreme side based on my research, but overall, I would say, and this is from Ruled Me, that kind of goes through the generalization of the technique. And basically the only fats I did is I just did heavy cream in my coffee, and then I would have a little single serving of about maybe 10 or 11 grams of protein per day. So, and I would do that at the same time every day, kind of like a 1 meal a day style. Just so that I could make sure I had some amino acids, especially since I was physically active. I was going to the gym, riding a bike and shit, and I didn't want to risk, overdoing it, because they're doing high intensity interval training, and if you do that, then you're liable to burn off a little bit of lean mass. Not that I'm super worried about it, because I can always put it back, but this basically is a pretty decent guide. Tailor it to your own needs and stuff. I don't do avocado or anything, and I don't do veg. I didn't do veg this whole fat fast, and I didn't do it the last fat fast I did, I had nuts as my, pecans are a perfect ratio of fat to protein to do on a fat fast, so I did that. But I find that I felt better on this fat fast, though I was a little low energy during it, and I think that was because of the exercise, and the exercise might have been tanking my metabolism. So exercise at your own risk if you're fat fasting. So I got a pound a day of weight loss out of the deal, and did I heal anything? I after I refed, because I felt like shit before I started the fat fast. I felt like complete crap. And I felt way better the day after the refeed. I was like, I had all kinds of energy. I had a lot of get up and go, I felt alert, mentally, and it was just, it was great, and it was good because I had a lot to do. But so I definitely got a lot out of it. And now I will say, like I said, because I did the physical activity, my energy levels during the fast were shit. Very low energy levels at one point. So, and that was different than the other 2 times I've done the fat fast. And so the only variable I can think of that changed, well, there's 2 variables that changed. One, I was fucking doing a lot more physical activity during this fast. But at the same time, I did a water fast of 4 or 5 days where there was heavy physical activity that I fed ketogenically because of the hikes and whatnot. And I did experience a bit of an energy dip there from water fasting. But that wasn't as pronounced as this dip in energy. So I think, because you've got to think, you're not shutting down your digestive system completely when you do a fat fast. So you're burning a lot of energy just digesting the fat. And I think when you combine that with exercise, that might just be pushing you over the limit. So my advice, if you're doing a fat fast, is try and take it easy physically. Exercise should be walking at best. No high intensity shit during a fat fast, in my opinion, and shit. So that's pretty much all I can really say about the fat fast. And it is a great tool if you don't like water fasting, or if you get a big metabolic drop every time you water fast. This will at least give you some calories. I would say it is, it's kind of like fasting with training wheels and shit. And hey, it's always good to have a variety of fucking tools in your tool belt to deal with problems. Did it fix the fatty liver any? Like I said, I felt better, and that's the only thing I have to go by. However, last night I had 4 drinks. So, and today I didn't feel bad necessarily. So I will say I had to have improved the fatty liver, because the last time I had drinks, it was a disaster compared to this time. This time I didn't even have a hangover or anything. But I did feel a little bit queasy, and I was definitely bloated as fuck today. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the fat fast. So without further ado, let's get into some chat and stuff. I'm going to scroll back, and then I'll try and catch up to modern chats, because I want to see if any of you had anything to say throughout this. I scrolled back about halfway here. Let's see here. Lori, chocolate is my hardest thing. I reintegrated 100% Baker's chocolate, and I melt it and put some stevia erythritol in it to sweeten it. And I put a little bit of that, I melt it, and then I stir it into my full-fat Greek yogurt as a dessert. And that's part of my ketovore protocol. And I haven't had any noticeable issues from that. Like I said, I think most of my issues come from my alcohol. Which, hey, that reminds me, I was going to talk about that a little bit. So yeah, I'm not the healthiest motherfucker on here. That, by all means, I have a vice or two that could probably end me earlier than a normal person, and one of them is alcohol. I know I have fatty liver, and that is clear, just based on my symptoms, based on the fact that I get bloated in that exact area regularly, that area is still larger than, like, the bottom of my belly, and so it's plain as day that I have fatty liver, and fatty liver does not go away when you're consuming alcohol. And I think I've been so hard on my liver throughout my life, because Lord knows my fucking 20s were just full of fucking alcohol, and I have become quite tame nowadays in comparison, but that doesn't mean I still am not abusing my liver periodically. And this is the same if you have sugary cheat days, by the way. You're essentially doing the same shit. And one of the things I notice with people on keto is they don't change their alcohol consumption at all. Now, you will notice improvements if you're not really fucked up liver-wise and you go keto and still have alcohol. But if your liver is toast and you go keto and you don't stop drinking alcohol, you might just be spinning your wheels at that point. You'll lose some weight, but if you plateau early or you're struggling with weight loss still, or some of your symptoms just aren't quite up to snuff and you're drinking alcohol, in true elimination style diet, you might want to cut it off, at least for a while, and see if you get better. And maybe you can heal to a point where you can drink in moderation going forward. And I think that's what I don't want to, but I think that's what I'm going to have to do. Because I do want to get rid of this fatty liver problem that I'm having. I do believe some of the lowest weights I achieved were when I quit drinking. I quit drinking for quite a while at one point, and my weight was in the 180s. So my set point is partially because of the alcohol, the fact that I'm in the low 190s for set point. And if I want to get lower than that, I think the only way to do it would be to heal my fatty liver. And the only way to do that is to not have cheat days that involve sugar and not drink alcohol. So, but then when you bounce it off the fact that there's chemicals out there that fuck your liver up, that's another ball game. But it doesn't hurt to try, I think. So that's one of the reasons I'm trying to do these fasts, and I will be doing more fasts going forward. I want to do some wilderness fasts when the weather opens up a bit, and I want to do some fat fasts. Wilderness fasts will be more water fasty than fat fasty. Though I might bring some butter out there and some, fatty shit to eat, some cheese and stuff like that. But overall, we'll see how that goes. So let me see here. My screen got dim and shit. Let's see. Beer always made me sick. I used to be a beer drinker. That was like 4 years ago. That was Knuckles that wrote that. And I didn't look back. I know some people that are just so into their beer that, they want to. Now, newsflash, Steve isn't keto anymore. I had high hopes, but he had some beers, and then that was that. So I just wanted to update you on that. I was going to interview him and be like, hey, so tell me about how you feel on keto. He has dropped completely off the diet as far as I know right now, unless it's changed. If you're watching this, Steve, let me know. So don't give him too much shit, because he's not alone in the world. There's plenty of people out there who try it and don't want to stay on it because they don't want to give up those foods. And it took me a couple years of back and forth, cheat days and fucking up before I finally said, hey, I just need to not, and need to not for long, very long periods of time. Like if I have a cheat day now, the last cheat day I had was at a wedding where I had some mashed potatoes. And that was my cheat, was the mashed potatoes. No sugar, no grain, nothing out of the ordinary. Some mashed potatoes, and I had something that was ketogenic that I considered a cheat day. I had a salad with a little bit of dressing on it. But that was all I had, and I was busting my ass that day, so I wasn't too worried about it. And it didn't seem to affect me that much. I think that my illness for the next 2 days was largely because of the alcohol I consumed that night. So we shall see. Tammy S. Tam wrote, I'm down 46 pounds. Congratulations and shit. And I don't know how much you had to lose or how much further you got to go, but I just keep sticking with it, and you'll keep that off. If you go back, though, the weight can come back. So just good job. And sometimes that's what people need. They need to be on this long enough to realize that A, they feel better, and B, the weight stays gone without effort, without having to bust your ass in the gym or any of that. Your weight, once you lose it, will stay off. As long as you stick to your diet, you don't go back to the standard American diet, you don't drink yourself silly. That's pretty much where it's at. And if you're a heavy drinker and you go keto, I do think you're going to plateau quite soon. And I think that's the reason I still hold on to this extra 8 pounds of fucking body weight that I just can't seem to get rid of, and it's all in the belly area. And it's because I haven't given up the alcohol. It has to be. I've tried every other thing nutritionally to eliminate, and alcohol is the only thing that I just need to eliminate it for a while. easier said than done, because I do enjoy going out and having drinks with friends. You know, I work in a bar. I'm in that environment constantly. It's not an easy fucking thing to do here. So let's see. How are we doing on time? We've been up for 44 minutes. Let me check in with Super Chats because I haven't been paying close attention here. Where is it? All right, there it is. Maybe. All right, so just Lori so far. Thank you once again, Lori. And thank you. I want to also thank the people that have been buying my podcasts over the past, however many months, especially since I left Patreon. And one of the reasons I'm doing this live stream is because they have supported me there, and I would like to be able to interact in a live setting with people on my podcast. And so here we are. So this podcast is existing primarily because of their purchases of the podcast. And if you want to hear more of my shit, ScottTheTruckDriver.com. Every Friday I try and post a podcast unless life kicks me in the nuts or something. So that's where we are at with that. I just completely skipped a bunch of shit. Hold on. Let's see here. Glenn Graham is sharing a link to something. I'll put that on there. Let's see. Going up. Paul Smart. Exercise makes me hungry. I usually exercise fasted as long as it's an eat day after. And I would say if you're doing like an 1 meal a day style or an ADF style of fasting to where you're not exceeding 48 hours, then always exercise fasted and then refeed afterwards, because what that's going to do is that's going to prime you to repair the muscle groups that you damage when you exercise. Your appetite's going to be ramped up, and most of that will be used to refill the glycogen that you burn off during the exercise. Believe it or not, if you're keto, you still do have a glycogen storage, and you do need to replenish it a bit. And some people find, not me personally, but some people are healthy enough that they can have a few extra carbs after, in their meal that's after their exercise. I tried it for a while, and I think it stalled me quite a bit while I was still deep into the weight loss side of the house. Now I'm kind of in the lifestyle maintenance and health side of things as opposed to weight loss. But so I would, be careful if you choose to exercise a lot so you can have some carbs in your life, or at least a little more carbs. First of all, you don't overdo it. You shouldn't, even if you're doing that, you shouldn't go over 100 grams per day. A normal person, even that's physically active, I believe, should not exceed 100 grams of carbs a day, especially if they had metabolic problems and they're trying to fix them. So that's kind of where I'm going at. Honest as fuck wrote, any Frankie Tufano fans in here? I was kind of a fan of his for a while, but I don't know, that's waning a bit. I'm noticing some things in the videos that he does that are a little bit, I don't know, Sverge-like. But I do like a lot of what he says. I like the experiments he's done with raw. I like the fact that he's been a carnivore as long as he has and knows his shit. I do think he's a little full of himself, but, aren't we all? We are on fucking YouTube and all. You got to be a little narcissistic to film yourself, I think. But other than that, yeah, I do catch his videos from time to time, and I catch him a lot more than Sverge's at this point. And that's about all I had to say about Frank Tufano and shit. The snake, as far as snake diet, the shit that he's been putting out, he's just been railing against the keto diet. And, that makes me not even, I already found his personality a little grating watching his shit. But I don't know. He's just going overboard with this whole keto is bullshit, fuck keto shit. He does recommend it for while you're losing weight to keep your carbs low, but he doesn't recommend it as a lifestyle choice. But he's talking a lot of shit on keto, and I think I know why, because he's the popularity of keto is increasing, so you're going to find a lot of YouTubers clickbaiting that shit, and I think that might be part of why he's doing that right now, is to get the clicks. Clicks pay the bills, after all. I occasionally do some of the clickbaity shit, but like today, no one's talking about the shit that I'm talking about with fat fasting. That's not a clickbaity thing right now. And that's how this is titled. And I don't know, I just wish people would change it up a little more instead of chasing the trends. One of the ways we learn is by stepping outside of the trends and figuring out what's different out there, So, what else have we got here? Let's see. Tammy wrote again. Lori, after a few months on keto, I'm just not hungry till like 3 or 4 p.m. Guess I'm lazy keto, no tracking, and just eat when I'm hungry. I need to tighten up my game now to lose the last 20 pounds. If by tighten up your game, you mean starting to count calories and cutting, I wouldn't do that. I would more tighten up in terms of, are you eating dirty keto or are you eating clean keto? Or you could start experimenting with carnivore and take some of the keto foods and reintroduce them over time to make sure that those aren't causing you any issues. Because there are foods on keto that will cause weight regain, they'll cause water retention, they'll cause inflammation, they'll cause bloating, they'll cause, digestive issues, gut microbiome issues. So if you really are looking to hone in that last 20 pounds, also alcohol, get the alcohol out of your life for a while, at least if you're trying to conquer that last 20, and that's something I'm going to have to do. I'm not just, going to give you that advice and not follow it myself. I'm pretty much going to have to quit drinking for a while until I get my liver back in order, and then not fuck it up again later. Because I don't know how long you get to be able to regenerate your liver before you're just too fucking old to regenerate your liver. To where the damage is done, you've necrosed some of it, and I probably have. I probably got some necrotic tissue in my fucking, some cirrhosis a little bit in there. But I think it'd only get worse if I continued to punish my liver. I need to give my liver some love, I think, this year. That's going to be the goal. Well, more hiking, less drinking. That's my goal for the year. And I'll probably get down to my 180s, with some of I've got some aggressive hikes planned this year. I'm going to start training as soon as the weather breaks. I'm going to go train at Tinker Falls, which is 2 miles uphill, like straight uphill, 2 miles nonstop. The one that I did the video where it looked like I was going to fucking drop dead. Well, I'm going to train on that motherfucker, carrying a 60-pound pack, so that I can go do some mountains in the Adirondacks, and also the end goal is by fall, probably summer, because I don't want to get caught in any snow. I want to go to Yosemite. Even though it's crowded as fuck at the bottom of it and shit, the views there and the stuff I've seen, I think that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing that I want on my resume. So my goal for this year is to get to Yosemite and to be fit enough to hike the Yosemite Falls Trail, which is, I think, 3.5 miles up, straight up. Pretty much. Well, you got switchbacks, but that's my goal, and that's my fitness goal. And I'm also gonna have to do some mountain biking stuff because I'm coaching a youth mountain biking group. So yeah, I've got a lot of physical activity on tap, and I might need to get my liver in order to be able to perform both as a coach and as a hiker. So that's my goals. Hopefully I make it and shit. So, let's see here. Glenn Graham, Mike Mutzel, High Intensity Health. Join us for a group fast starting 6 p.m. Sunday in your time zone, Monday 6 p.m. in your time zone or something. Here's a link to the Facebook group, and then he gave the link to the Facebook group. You guys probably already read all that. If you're watching this later, I think you can replay the chat with it. I always enable that anyway. If you have problems, just comment and I'll see if I can fix it so you can see the chat. But yeah, if I can't start a fast because I'm currently in my refeed period, and anytime I do a fast, even a fat fast, I generally do twice as long. For the longer fast, I do twice as long of a time before I fast again. So the refeed period's usually twice the length of my fasts. Just to rebuild, regain some weight, and build what I tore down during the fast. And you always tear down during a fast. There's a little bit of tear down of just about every damaged tissue in the body. The thing is if you don't refeed properly after a fast, and if you keep your calories low and you do all of that shit after a fast, or you habitually fast yourself into a metabolic permanent drop, where you're just fasting too often, that's something to be careful of. Don't fast too often. I see a lot of this going on right now. I'm not going to call anyone out. I've commented on a few YouTubers that I think are exceeding the level of fasting that they should be doing, and I did it, by the way. One of the reasons I ended up on keto is I was just fasting, and not the person that I'm thinking of isn't doing this. They're already keto, as far as I know. But for me, I started on the standard American diet, and I was fasting my balls off. I'd fast for 3 days, and I'd eat for 2 days, and fast another 3 days, and eat for 1 day. Then I did ADF, then I did 72-hour fast, then I did 5-day fast, then I did 7-day fast. And I didn't give myself, I would say shouldn't do more than 5 to 7 days a month max. 1 week out of the month if you're being aggressive. And then the other 3 weeks should be at the very least 1 meal a day. I would say 16 and 8, and eating a ketogenic diet and refeeding properly, and not worrying about calories, not worrying about if you regain some weight that you lost during the fast. And I believe if you do that, you'll clean up and fix a lot of damage, and that is what goes into lowering your set point. To where if you're plateaued, you need to work on what's keeping you plateaued. In my case, it's fatty liver and alcohol. I believe that's keeping me where I'm at as far as my set point, and I want to lower it a bit. I would like to see the 180s and stay there. And I don't think that's going to happen while I still fuck my liver up. So something to keep in mind. I just noticed a super chat, so let's see what that says and shit. Alrighty. Oh, a couple super chats. Thank you, Isabella Reyna, for your super chat. And Gloria S., thank you very much for your contribution. She wrote, I like the direction you are going. We want a good diet, but if the source is poison, we can only be so successful. Hopefully, you will be part of a growing grassroots movement to forcing safer foods for all. I'm just vocal about it. I'm triggered about it. I do the best I can with it. But it is an uphill battle, and until the mainstream fights the battle, I think it's just going to be some of us out here that are trying to save ourselves and those around us. And a lot of people around us aren't going to want to hear it. But that being said, over the past year or two, that I've been doing this, and I've been talking this shit for a long time now. It feels like it's 4 years or so. But now I'm showing up at parties, and people know right away what keto is. I remember the days when that wasn't the keto. What the fuck's keto? Oh, this sounds weird. You're fucking weird and shit. No, I get people that back a couple years ago that they look at you like you're out of your fucking mind if you tell them you're keto. Oh, you're eating high fat? Aren't you worried about a fucking grabber? Now keto's popular as fuck. I went to a wedding. There were a couple people keto there, one of whom I knew very well. Didn't know she went keto. Of course, she lived far away, and I don't know her that well. But the last time I saw her, she didn't give a shit. Now, yeah, she's keto, but she's still drinking lots of alcohol like I do. So she'll get probably to where I got. And if you're not happy, then cut back the alcohol and heal. So basically, yeah, there's just so many people around me. Ever since I got my mother on this, she's got a friend that's her age that is doing it now and passionately doing it, has lost 15 pounds already, and it's only been a couple months. And one of those, like my mother, she likes to make all the keto Franken desserts and all of the keto recipes and all of that, which is fine if that's what it takes to get the ball rolling. And then you can get so far on the dirty keto shit and eventually you'll be happy. You'll be like, I made it. I'm good. And then if you want to go further, like you didn't quite get to your goal or whatever, something in your diet may be holding you back, or, as I was saying in the beginning of this, something in your lifestyle. You might be being exposed to excessive glyphosate. You might have some excessive chemical problems. You might have an actual health condition related to our environment and our food environment that isn't solved by being keto or vegan or any of these other fucking diets. It's just trying to figure out which foods are causing you the problems at that point, and that's the best I think we can do, which is why I think carnivore is growing as much as it is because people are getting relief from these symptoms that they didn't quite find on keto. And if you're in that category, I highly recommend doing a 30-day carnivore diet. It's not going to fucking kill you. It's not going to destroy you in 30 days. And if you don't like it, start bringing one by one your keto foods back in and seeing what causes you problems and what you can live with too, because maybe you can live with the negative health consequence of a certain food and trade it off. It's a matter of sustaining. Do you sustain a slightly shittier level of health, or do you fly completely off the wagon because you find your diet restrictive? So anything that you can find that's kind of a happy medium to where your symptoms are good enough and your food is enjoyable enough to where you can eat that way the rest of your life. And it's not a quick, easy process. And that's one of the reasons I get so many people that come to keto now and they drop the fuck off of it because they're not willing to put in the time necessary to figure this shit out. Because you can eat a balanced keto diet with plenty of veg, with some nice low glycemic foods, occasional fruit cheat days even, once you've been at it a while, once you've healed some. And if you take the alcohol out of the equation, I think you could be a little more liberal with the kind of fruits that you cheat with. Grain's got to go. I'm sorry, but there's no safe grain out there right now, in my opinion. Even the grains that somehow have escaped the glyphosate problem, which I can't think of too many that have. Even organic foods have glyphosate levels thanks to pollution from these big, huge monoculture crops that are next door to them in often cases. Or just general people spraying their fucking lawn for weeds and shit over the years. And that getting in the water and that getting into the system, that's a whole other thing. But I think that you have a lower exposure level on that than, say, if you go and get a fucking loaf of bread or a piece of cake or a donut or any of these other things that are just built with grain. And 80% of the foods, along with sugar, also contain grain. Sugar also having the fructose that's going to fuck your liver up to no end. So these are all things you can look at once you get the general area of your goal. And once you lose the weight, you're starting to keep it off, and then you can tweak. And that's where I'm at in my journey, is playing around with things, doing some fasting experiments, doing some carnivore experiments. I'm probably not going to do a raw food experiment. So there's plenty of other people doing that, and I'm happy to watch them put themselves through hell doing this. If you're on a raw food diet and you're happy with it and you're there in the Surge cult, then more power to you. I do not want to join that. I am very happy with my diet the way it is. Even when I do carnivore, I'm fucking happier than a pig in shit. I get to eat my fucking cooked eggs. I sear the outside of my steak. I season it, which is like dirty fucking carnivore. Hey, there's a new term. I don't think I've heard anybody call carnivore dirty carnivore before. So anyways, continuing on with the chat. Paul Smart, I cut out sweetness, including artificial, and found my desire for alcohol died. I've not had a problem with that in terms of, like, I quit drinking for a long period of time. What kept me drinking was the social aspect. Like I say, I work in a bar. I hang out at a bar. I've gone to the same bar for like fucking over 10 years now. I've got a lot of friends there. It's like a family at this point. So, and everybody there's drinking like fish, and I do enjoy tying one down every now and then. It's no secret. I've done that my whole life. But there's times when I overdid it to the point where I was becoming a dick, and I didn't want to be a dick, so I quit. But now I'm past that. I'm not getting to the point where I'm becoming a dick. I'm getting to the point where my body's like, look, motherfucker, you need to cut this shit out. And this was a big wake-up call before I did this fat fast that, it was 2 days that took me out. I threw up. I felt like shit the entire day. I laid in bed most of it. I tried to sleep my way through half of the hangover. And then I was just wrecked the next day for energy, and I was bloated. I could tell I was inflamed, and it was horrible. And I shouldn't be getting that bad, because I used to be able to do that same drinking session in my past and barely get a headache the next day, which is another thing that I don't have very often, and I didn't even during this hangover. This was a stomach nausea hangover. I haven't had a headache hangover fucking since I've been keto, it seems. I think I've had maybe 2 headaches a year, which is a stark contrast from my standard American diet days when I fucking had headaches all the time and shit. So, yeah, that's where we're going there. Bull, Scott the Truck Driver, how tall are you? I am 6 foot tall. And I currently this morning weighed in at 196 pounds. So that's where I'm at. I'm a little over the BMI level there. My BMI doesn't hit normal until 185. So I hover in that range. And like I said, that's my... And I know I'm above, normal BMI because of the fatty liver. Because that part of me, there's some fat there. I'm not the take my shirt off every fucking video guy. If you want that, Thomas DeLauer has a channel where he excels at that. He puts it in his fucking thumbnail and shit, and makes fucking 5-minute commercials for your fucking YouTube viewing pleasure. That's not me. I've never been about aesthetics. I've never been about that. It's always been about health and feeling better, and not being in the healthcare system, not having to go to the doctors. When I go in for my physical, I want that doctor to have a big warm fuzzy and not write shit prescriptions for me or tell me I need to do this or that or the other. Last time I went in for my physical, I'm getting due. I got to go check and schedule this one for this year, just to see how I'm doing. I like going in there and walking out in my 40s without any problems. No blood pressure problems, no blood sugar problems. I feel fine, and if I don't feel fine, I'm able to figure it out, because usually something I'm doing that's in my diet or my lifestyle that is causing it. And I'm getting pretty good about narrowing that shit down and getting it to where I feel better and shit. So, let's see here. Oh, Glenn Graham, 8 hours sleeping and too busy working Monday equals perfect fasting. Yeah, I did. That's probably one of the reasons I stopped the fast at 5 days, because I don't know. I was busy. I wasn't getting good sleep. I will say that. That's the other part of the fat fast. I was sleeping maybe 5-6 hours a night. I would wake up, and then at some point in the day, because I didn't hardly sleep that night, I would have to take a nap. Just to get through the day, just a short close my eyes for an hour type thing. So I felt, like I said, I had low energy, and I think that, I don't know, I think I really fucked my liver up the last time I got, shit-faced. So, it is what it is. Psychic Outlaw Chanel. Yes, 3 times better autophagy on dry. I put it in each day, but today going longer. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Dry what? Let's see. Let me scroll up. Knuckles, I bet the lights allowed. Just tell you, new clothes. All right. I guess I missed out on what you were talking about with the dry thing. I don't know if are you talking about dry fasting, because I'm not into dry fasting. I believe in hydration. And believe it or not, I don't think hydration's based on drinking shit tons of water. I think it has to do with your electrolyte content. And if you drink too much water, you can actually flush your electrolytes out to a point. So, I believe I'm kind of in the vegetable police camp on this. He recently says he thinks that fat plays a huge role in hydration. And I tend to agree, because a large part of fat cells is water. and shit. And when you dry fast, you actually get water from your body fat, which is one of the reasons why you lose extra weight on a dry fast. So, yeah, it makes sense that good fat content and good electrolytes lead to proper hydration and shit. I don't know why I went off on that just because I saw the word dry and I thought of dry fasting. It's how my mind works sometimes and shit. Psychic Outlaw Chanel, of course, asked, will you do a dry fast? Also help with your alcohol addiction. If by dry fast you mean not drinking alcohol, then yeah, I'll do that kind of fast. But no, like I said, I just kind of pretty much answered it, and I answered it before I actually read it. So I'm not sure what that link is, but it's YouTube. Seems legit, right? No, I have no interest in it. I don't need to do it. I get results whenever I do my fat fast. I get results whenever I do a water fast. I don't need extra results. The things I do often are dealing with any issues that I have. I don't need extra autophagy. I don't, you get, after 12 hours, you're in autophagy, by the way. If you go 12 hours without eating, autophagy begins. This is documented. It ramps up, obviously, the further into a fast you go. And autophagy is cumulative. You're getting rid of the damaged shit. And as long as you're not doing more damage than you're getting rid of, it stands to reason over time of living this kind of lifestyle, you'll heal. So I don't find the need to push it to extreme levels. Because when you push things to extreme, they can cause problems. And I'm a firm believer that if you do excessive fasting or incredibly long fasts, especially if you don't have the body fat to support it, like if you're like 500 pounds, then by all means you could do a fucking 40-day fast. But if you're my body weight and height and you do a fast of that length, you are gonna start tearing your body up a bit. Because you don't have enough body fat, and your body will actually conserve some of that fat and dip into the lean mass at that point. That's one of the reasons Angus Barberi, or whatever the fuck his name is, was able to go so long, as he had a shit ton of body fat. Where if you look at the people in the Minnesota starvation experiment, though that's not fasting necessarily, they were just calorie restricting to 800 calories a day. But there comes a point in the fast, like, I forget her name. You guys linked me to her. I'm bad with names. The one that just did the 54-day fast and documented it. She was having a rough time of it, and has predictably bounced back from the fast to the point where she's getting into that fasting back and forth thing. Now, I'm not trying to start any shit. I'm not. This is my opinion and why I think certain people are fasting too much. And it's a mistake I made in the beginning. In the beginning of my journey, I did the exact same thing. I would fast, and then I would not wait long enough, and then fast again. And if I stalled, I would double down and do longer fasts and push myself. And you don't need to push yourself to extremes, because that's a recipe for burnout. And or getting to a point where your metabolism drops and stays down, to where every time you fast, you regain every last pound that you lost in the fast, like, very quickly. So it kind of becomes, you spend more time fasting than eating, and it's just this vicious cycle that you can get caught in, all because you're trying to be in a hurry and chase the numbers and move shit. I've been doing this for a long time now. 4 years is a long time, and I would not have been able to do this lifestyle if I was at the pace when I first started out of fasting and doing these extreme things. And it's the same thing I'm finding with nutrition. There's a lot of nutrition extremes going on right now. We got people fucking rotten fucking meat and eating high meat. Because Jonas Vanderplant's, whatever the fuck his name is, threw this video before he died. And now his family's selling this video, and people are watching it and going, I'm going to do the raw meat shit. If that's your thing and you enjoy it, and you're not getting sick, and you're not hurting yourself, or you're not having symptoms, by all means. But to me, that's a step that I feel I don't need to take, because I've already gotten pretty healthy where I'm at. I'm not having these issues. The issues I have are the depression things and the autoimmune things that occasionally pop up on keto. And all I have to do to get rid of that is just go carnivore, cooked carnivore. I don't need to do raw. I like very rare meat. You won't be catching me eating raw chicken or raw eggs or any of that shit just because, it doesn't look appealing. Like, I see the faces people make when they eat that shit, and I'm just like, why are you doing that to yourself? Why can't you just enjoy some food? Get rid of the shit that's causing you the most problems, but you're not going to achieve perfection. And the reason you're not going to achieve perfection is because of the chemicals in our environment and food are not going to let you fully heal. No matter how much fucking dry fasting you do, you're just going to re-damage it. And a lot of these chemicals are, once they're in you, they're in you. Like, glyphosate binds to minerals. It's in your bones. Fasting isn't going to change that. That fucking Teflon chemical there, that's in your fucking bones and your blood and collagen and all that shit, and it's not going anywhere. It'll be there if they dig your body up 100 years from now, you're still going to have these things in there, and they're still going to cause you problems. And all the fasting and extremes in the world are not going to cure that, in my opinion. So that's why I don't feel the need to take it to extreme levels. And some would argue I'm already extreme. I mean, who the fuck goes out in the wilderness for 4 days, drinks water out of a lake, which is questionable. I still, now that I've watched that fucking DuPont bullshit, I am questioning the fact that I drank that water because it had that same foamy shit I was seeing flowing in the fucking, that was killing that dude's cows. And I'm just like, nah. So, I'm not saying you should go out and drink water from a lake like I did. I didn't die, so there's that. But overall, it is what it is. I did the best I could. And I got a lot of benefit out of that wilderness fast, and I'm looking forward to doing more of those. If you haven't watched my wilderness fast series, it's pretty awesome as far as a protocol goes. All you do is you feed before you go, ketogenic. And then you hike, and then you fast while you're backpacking. You stay there. Obviously, you need some time off to do this. The only activity you're going to be doing is firewood. That's about all I did. I did firewood. I laid in my fucking tent a lot. It was cold sometimes, and I didn't feel like doing firewood, so I just laid in my tent and listened to some audiobooks. Walked around, stretched my legs, listened to the sounds of nature and shit, listened to hunters shoot shit and kill animals and shit. And, went down and refilled my water every day from the lake. And yeah, it was quite a calm, peaceful experience. It was a great fasting environment, because there's no choice. You can't, like I brought rations to eat before I hiked out because I wanted to fuel the hike out. Because you don't want to fuck around. Nature will have a way of killing you if you don't fucking take care of yourself for these strenuous physical activities. So I'm no means advocating for a fasted hike. Feed your hikes, fast while you're camped, and then feed your hike out. And I found that to be my favorite fasting protocol, which is why there's going to be more of that in the summer, I feel. So I think I just saw Helen. Thank you for your contribution. Didn't write anything, though. So you guys are really helping keep this show going. I will tell you that, because it's been rough. I can't believe my fucking hard drive died. Like the video that I lost on there, and like all my intro graphics and shit were on it, and I was too stupid to. I was literally in the process of backing the hard drive up, and having more than one copy of this shit. And it shit the bed while I was doing that. I hope it fucking comes back, because then I won't fuck that up again. Always back your shit up. Moral of that story. So it's still bothering me and shit. So let me scroll around a little bit more. Let's see here. What else we got? Lori wrote, my hair and nails is way better. My hair and nails are the same. I'm pushing my beard hair out. So what do you think? I think keep the fucking beard here a little bit. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm keeping a short beard now. My lips are chapped and shit, and my makeup isn't working very well. Sorry, I had to make that joke. He made a whole video about that Frank Tufano guy, which I thought was funny that he did that, by the way. Let's see. Do you think shill talk? Do you think 99% of YouTubers are shill? If so, how are you not? I think that bias does creep in for most YouTubers. My bias is not because some fucking company is paying me. No, in fact, all of my income from YouTube, aside from ads, which is not a lot. Trust me, I am not shilling. In fact, I get made fun of in the comments because I'll talk shit to no end, and somebody will there was a video where I was running bariatric surgery over the coals, and literally there was a bariatric surgery ad people were telling me in the middle of my fucking video, and I'm like, look, if they want to make their counterpoint and pay to do it, that's fine by me. I won't, I'll take their money. I just won't spend my money on that shit. And there's prescription drug commercials that pop up. Recently I started to look into, because I'm experimenting with day trading Bitcoin and learning how to do that. And ever since I started doing that, the fucking Google bots have figured that out. So now I get these 10, I'll be watching a YouTube video and I'll go to the other side of the fucking room and lay down. And then everyone's mid-roll is like a 5-minute fucking, I can help you invest shit ad. So there are definitely YouTubers who will not say bad things about certain products that sponsor them. I myself am not a shill because I have no corporate sponsors whatsoever. So when I talk about something I like or a food I like or whatever, it's because I actually like it. It's not because I'm being paid to tell you any of that shit. So that is how I am not a shill. However, there are people out there who will be disinclined to shit talk the person that may be paying their bills. There are also people who are shilling their own products. When I recommend something, it's something that I've either read or done or use, and you'll see them in my blog posts. I put my Amazon affiliate link, and I'll usually do a search related that I didn't necessarily try out for, but if you were to go in through Amazon and shop around and find that shit, that would contribute. I get a little bit of percentage of that as income to me, just for you doing what you would be doing anyway, shopping in Amazon. Even if you don't buy shit even remotely related, like you go through that link and then you buy something else that you're planning on buying anyway, that helps the channel out. Because I always put the search ads so that you can go in and do your thing, and it gives me credit for that. And I do occasionally get a little bit of income from that. I run ads on my website, so I get a little income from that, very little income from that, but enough income from that where I don't have to worry about my yearly paying for my website. So the ad revenue from the website actually pays for my website. And everything else has been people buying my podcast. So yeah, I shill the hell out of my own podcasts. You're listening to one right now, really, because this is the free one I'm going to do once a month live. And Tammy asked what a shill is. If you don't know what a shill is, it's basically somebody who is planted in comments in social media, on social media platforms, to troll or talk shit or, dismiss people, and these people are generally paid by corporations to do so, or they're personalities and influencers who are paid to promote products. There's lots of celebrity shills on like Instagram, and if you ever go on Netflix and watch the Fire Festival documentary, that is a perfect example of shillery at its worst. And it's and it also shows how horribly that can go for an influencer. Whenever you're in a place like this where it's pretty much, it's less Wild West than it used to be, there's going to be people that get paid money to talk shit, and they don't necessarily have to tell you that that's what it is. There is a rule, I believe, a law that says that if you are doing a sponsored video, that you have to somewhere in the video say this is sponsored by, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to tailor your opinion based on the fact that they sponsored you. You see it in the video game industry all the time. So that's shillery. I am not a shill. Trust me, there ain't no corporations paying my ass because I talk too much shit about them, I think. And I have been approached by some supplement companies to do sponsorships, and I told them to take a hike because I don't believe in supplements. So, it is what it is. So I do get occasional approaches from certain corporate entities who want to make money off this shit. And if I don't believe in the product, I won't accept any corporate sponsorship. That's me. So nobody's paying me to say shit. Trust me. I could use the money sometimes. All right. So let's see here. Knuckles, I have hyperhidrosis. I have to be careful with dry fasting or my body would go into total spasm and I would end up in the hospital. That brings up another good point. When I did the carnivore experiment, and I just now thought of this as part of the fat fast I just did. Ever since I did carnivore and started reintroducing a few things from keto, but not nuts, I have not had my calf cramps. Which are notoriously a sign that you have electrolyte issues, and definitely should not dry fast in that position. And the fact that I spent the first couple days of the fat fast pissing my brains out, and then I started to have cramps. Now, part of this could have been the alcohol from the shitty day that just took out, dehydrated the shit out of me, took out all my electrolytes in the process, and I just didn't put any back because I started fasting so soon after that. So that could be a factor. But ultimately, I experienced a few minor, they weren't like wake up in the middle of the night cramps, but they were discomfort, and they were in the balls of my in like the under part of my foot. It was kind of like doing this shit. So yeah, that's the other reason I don't fuck with dry fasting, is because it can go wrong, and it can go wrong badly for some people. So I would not in good conscience be able to come on YouTube and advise it as a protocol. I always say do your fucking homework for everything that I do too, because maybe keto won't work for you. Maybe you've got problems that I don't know about. I'm just talking about what the problems I've been working with and the things I've been doing for myself. I still entirely up to the individual to be responsible for their own knowledge before they try this shit. Should never just listen to one of us and just fucking go nuts for it. So, living and learning. Spherage doesn't seem like a shill. You're right. He doesn't seem like a shill. He seems like a cult leader. And he's just got a strong personality that I don't necessarily agree with. I do like his vegan interviews, though. I will say that he gets a little tinfoil hatty for my tastes, but people could call to say the same shit about me. So I'm not talking shit, Spherage, before you make a fuck you video or something. I'm just saying we all have our little tinfoil hats. I just don't believe a lot of the stuff that you believe. That's all. But some people would argue that I have all of this conspiracy theory going on about the fucking glyphosate and all this other shit. In fact, some people think glyphosate is a conspiracy theory, which leads to a good segue. If you haven't followed me on minds.com, I have been posting there regularly. I post stuff that I'm looking into on YouTube. I post things that I want to make a comment on. I post videos from other people I want to promote on there. But the reason I started to expand to these other platforms is YouTube is no longer promoting conspiracy theories. And in that listed is miracle cures that may cause harm. And there are people in the world who would say keto could fall into that. Dry fasting can fall into that. Carnivore diet could definitely fall into that because it's so heretical to do right now. So that's kind of one of the concerns and why I am expanded to some of these other platforms, and I will be posting exclusive content. And if you want to see that, you can follow me on Minds. I'll be mirroring it there. I still mirror to the Facebook page, so I'm not on Facebook as much as I used to. Twitter is just a straight up mirror. I'm hardly ever on Twitter because Twitter just is too toxic. And so yeah, if you want to follow, or just check my blog on ScottTheTruckDriver periodically and see what I've been posting, because everything goes there first in general, including the exclusive video content I plan. I am planning on starting an additional channel at some point to cover my photography and videography interests. I just haven't had time to get to it yet. I'm trying to clean up all my client work right now. But I do eventually want to do some stuff that I like to do on YouTube that probably isn't going to pay any bills, but you never know. I want to start. I've been doing photography for 4 years now. I think I feel qualified where I could talk about it some, you know. Why is my computer randomly turning on? I don't know, my laptop just turned on, and I only noticed it because my Bluetooth fucking kicked in and shit. Sorry about that. I just didn't want it on because I don't want to fuck up my internet while I'm streaming. Let's see here. Change my input back over to... There we go. Sorry about that. Technical shit and shit. So, I see another super chat. Let's see. Did they write anything? If I can scroll and shit. Sorry. I'm getting a little bad about some dead air and shit. So, let's see here. Melissa Cocker, thank you for your contribution. Keep up the great work today. Today marks 9 months on keto and down 70 pounds. That's pretty awesome. That's more than I lost. You should start a channel. Still find myself on the struggle bus, feeling fabulous, and med-free is why I will not stop. Thank you for the knowledge you share. Well, and thank you for helping support the channel. I do definitely appreciate it. Let's see here. Getting back over there. Checking the stream real quick to make sure it's not fucked up. Okay, it's not fucked up. All right, scrolling. Let's see here. Glenn Graham, red meat to increase muscle and therefore benefit health, yes or no? Bodybuilding, definitely red meat, or lots of protein to help give you the amino acids necessary for muscle growth. Plus, you want to be in an energy surplus, or try to be, which is difficult to do on keto. It's not impossible. It can be done. You can build muscle on keto. And this has been kind of a heavy debate since I made that last video, to where people are like, yeah, you should eat more protein. Yeah, do this, that, and the other. I'm not a bodybuilder, so I only speak to my knowledge of the stuff. And I did start out wanting to be a bodybuilder. At one point, I went to the gym and did all of that. And very quickly, I realized I hated it. And, I built a little muscle back then, a little strength. I was doing pull-ups and shit and doing body weight shit. And I was pretty cut at that stage of the game, even though I was still pretty heavy because I just started out with fasting. But yeah, I'm 43. I don't need to be fucking ripped. And as long as I can carry my pack, and I will be training for that. So I'm gonna build probably some core muscles and my legs and calves and shit, because I'm gonna be climbing with pack. And it's gonna be grueling. I know it's grueling. I've done it. So yeah, and shit. Let's see. She'll talk. If you think Spurge is for real, you're an idiot. Hey, people believe in different shit, I wouldn't call anybody an idiot because they're following Spurge. Maybe they take him with a grain of salt. Maybe they do believe the earth is flat and all the other tinfoil hat shit that he espouses. I walk a tightrope on conspiracy. I definitely see a lot of conspiracy in the science community, a lot of conspiracy in the government. These big corporations they're shitting these papers all over the place, and they're in court that are showing that they suck. And I just bring to attention the evidence that I've seen and the things I see around me in my personal life that lead me to believe that we've put profit ahead of public health, and some could argue that's conspiracy talk. But I'm not a flat earther or any of that kind of conspiracy wearing. But to each their own. I would never begrudge somebody their belief structure just because it's not mine, and think that because they believe differently than me that they're somehow an idiot and I'm not. I'm just an asshole. I'm not an expert on anything. I could be wrong about anything. So that's how I roll as far as that's concerned. Now, I do have strong opinions, don't get me wrong, but I don't turn those opinions into attacking someone personally, just because, I'll argue all fucking day and disagree and do all of that. But the moment you turn it personal, that you make a judgment on someone because of their belief system, maybe they just didn't get all the information that you got. That doesn't make them an idiot. That makes them uninformed. And we were all uninformed at one point. I was uninformed 4 years ago about all of this shit. You can go back in my earlier fasting videos and see how uninformed I was on nutrition back then. And how far I've come in that time. I went from watching people like Low Carb Corey, and you got to be real in the Wayback Machine to dig into that. Go ahead and look up Low Carb Corey. His videos are still up there, but he disappeared off the face of the planet. I don't know where the hell he went. But he was one of the first fasting channels I watched. I watched him. I watched Hodge Twins. And Hodge Twins haven't evolved nutritionally. In fact, I still see they're making the fast food eating videos, but they're all about gains and shit. And they're my age, so, to each their own. Maybe there are ways the right way, but, I don't think me eating fast food and going to the gym is on my agenda. Nor do I want to have to go to the gym just to pay for the fact that to eat fast food and not die right away. But that's not to say that there's no health issues there. I don't know them that well. But, that's how uninformed I was. I started out just watching random people who, at the time, it was a lot more radical, fasting. Fasting is still pretty radical, though. One of the other coaches that I was working with for the bike thing, I went there fast during my fat fast. And I'm not shy. I'm like, I'm fasting. I can't do that. They're going to go eat Subway or some shit. And I was like, no, I'm good. No, fasting. Thanks. And she was calling it starving. And it's not starving is the thing. It's fasting, and it's only starving if you don't have any body fat, which is true. If you don't have body fat and you're doing a long fast, you're starving. One could argue that you're tearing down a lot of damaged tissue and detoxing all that, but in the end, you're starving. I would say if you get to that level, then you need to feed your fasts, as in gain 10 pounds of body fat for your fast, and then only fast long enough to lose the 10 pounds. That's my opinion on that, anyway. So what else we got here? Living and learning, some conspiracies are valid. I agree. Everything starts out as a conspiracy before the truth comes out. So, I do not begrudge conspiracy theorists because sometimes they get it right. Yeah. Like, look at the glyphosate thing. That's been proven at this point. They're even winning. There's lawsuits in court that are getting won because of it. That chemical with DuPont, that was a conspiracy theory when it started out. That farmer, they were telling him he was out of his mind. Everybody in the town hated his guts. Really watch that documentary because this all ties together. He was considered a conspiracy theorist that somehow DuPont was poisoning his cows. They were dropping dead. That was a conspiracy theory. It's fucking the plants, pouring shit in the water. Well, yeah, they were. So every radical idea can be born in a conspiracy at some point. That doesn't mean there's no conspiracies in the world, because there's plenty. And especially when profit is the motive and money is the motive, the conspiracies are just ridiculous out there. And all you got to do is be a true crime fan. Like, I watch a lot of true crime documentaries and stuff to see how people conspire to do shit. And to think that the government's somehow above that, or the military is above that, or other countries are above that, would just be asinine, in my opinion, to not think of that. Now, some conspiracies are wrong, and most are probably wrong. But if we didn't have them, we wouldn't figure shit out. People would be gullible to the shit. So, viewing life with skepticism, in my opinion, is more than healthy. I'm actually caught up to the chat. I can put the chat up now. If I skipped you, by all means, go ahead. If I passed over you in the comments or in the chat, just type it again if you had a question. Now that I'm caught up, I can kind of keep what's going on here. If I miss you again, just keep posting or grab my attention with the @ScottTheTruckDriver. Knuckles, you couldn't survive off vegan. There would be so nutrient deficient. LOL, would a cannibal who eats Chinese person be hungry 30 minutes later? I do not advocate cannibalism, so I would say that no, you probably shouldn't. You know, I think I would starve to death before cannibalism ever became a thing. Let's see here. Lori Littell, Scott, have you watched Sim Land? SIM Land? No, I have not. Should I be? One of the favorite YouTubers that I watch is one that I learn a lot from because he does his research so well and articulates it and puts these nice presentations together, is What I've Learned. If you are ever struggling with some of the science, go to his channel and look through his playlist. He's got some excellent summations of sugar. He's even got one on the carnivore diet. He's got lots of keto stuff. So if I had to recommend a YouTuber that if that's what we're doing right now, yes, I know you were joking, Knuckles. If I had to recommend anybody, I would say What I've Learned is probably one of my top choices for the YouTubers in the nutrition world that aren't like scientists that are doing the 45-minute, 1-hour lectures at like Keto Fest and low carb, whatever the hell that one is. And, you know, by all means, you should be watching those too as part of the research process. But if you're looking for like a guru video, I would highly recommend What I've Learned. I've never watched one of his videos and been like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I don't know what you're talking about. I literally am like, yep. Oh, I didn't know that, but yeah. And then I'd go look up whatever he talked about. And he always puts links and shit, and it's fucking awesome. So if you haven't partaken that playlist, by all means. So, Slim Land, he fasts also. I'm gonna put that in right now since we're here and shit. YouTube, let's check it out. Sim Land. So this is one of the great things about doing live streams is you can do shit like this on the fly for content. Okay, let's see what he got here. All right. Let's see. Are you an autophagy? I'm gonna put it up on the screen here. So I guess this is his playlist. Let me look at his videos. See what he's got. All right, metabolic autophagy book launch Q&A. I might have to check him out. I'm liking some of the subjects he's got here. Can't stop eating. How to fix leptin resistance. I know a few things about that. So let's just see. Give him a little Pepsi challenge here after the ads. Yeah, ads. I don't want to show the ad. There, just look at my face and shit while this guy shaves his fucking chest. Really? Well, nobody wants to see this. I don't want to buy that now because I don't want to shave my chest hair. What the fuck? What the fuck kind of commercial is this? Do I look like somebody who fucking manscapes? What the fuck is this? Skip the ad. All right. So let's
struggling with weight loss, that it might be that you're leptin resistant. This video will talk about what is leptin resistance.
I recognize this guy. I've actually caught a few of his videos unknowingly. I didn't subscribe, but maybe I will.
And how can you fix it? Leptin is a hormone that gets secreted by the body's fat cells, and it's often referred to as the satiety hormone. It's considered to be one of the most important regulators of body fatness in mammals. Leptin's main role is to control the body's energy balance.
That's kind of what I was saying in my podcast recently, that a lot of people don't think about these hormones being the main driver of everything, the main cause of weight gain, and managing these hormones is part of our biohacking, so to speak, of our weight. Because keto normalizes all of this, by the way. You become responsive to leptin again. And the problem with that is your leptins might your leptin sensitivity might still be damaged from long-term shitty diet. So once your body weight drops to a certain point, you plateau, and it's usually shy of getting all the way there, and you really need to do things like extra fasts and tweaking your diet and lifestyle to really push yourself all the way to the finish line and then stay there. So, but the reason why keto is not a weight loss diet per se, yes, you lose a lot of weight, because the reason you lose weight on keto at first is basically you are suddenly, all your hormones are doing their job, and your hormones' job is to regulate your energy balance. If you overeat, they ramp up your metabolism to compensate so you don't gain weight. If you undereat, they slow things down and allow you to accumulate fat back up before it raises things back up. And this is a balance that has worked for millions of years before we decided to fuck things up with agriculture and industrial agriculture and, you know, just generally doing dumb shit with our food now, putting chemicals and fake shit and shit. I mean, we've really fucked this system up. You know, we've tanked all of this. We've destroyed this shit. And once that straightens out and you're carrying shit tons of body fat, one of the first things that happens is that body fat, this is why you totally lose your appetite, is releasing the leptin, and it's telling your brain, holy shit, we got all this leptin. Okay, speed up the metabolism first, and you ain't fucking hungry, and not even mildly hungry. And it will generally chip away at your body fat. As your body fat levels drop, your leptin levels drop. And once they drop to a certain point, your brain's like, what? Oh, shit. No, that's too far. Nope. And then it starts to balance it out. You plateau like a motherfucker. And once you do that, once you get to that point, it can take a very long time to chip away at that last 10 to 15 to 20 pounds. And it's been a couple years, and I still haven't hit my happy 185 mark, which is where I'd like to stay. I have hit the belly measurement of 36 inches or below, and I hover at 36 inches. Before I started the fat fast, I forgot to tell you this measurement, I was at 36.5 inches, and then at the end of the fat fast, I was at 35.75. So I lost a little bit of the belly area while I was fasting, which is good because that's kind of the target. It's where the fatty liver is and, you know, all that visceral fat around my organs and shit. So, you know, that's kind of, you know, so yeah, I subscribe to him. I'll try and check him out more. I'm getting kind of sick of some of the YouTubers I've been watching lately because they keep saying the same shit over and over again, or they're riding the fucking drama train around, and that shit gets old. I like learning new things. Well, you know, that's part of my journey is learning too. I don't like watching shit I already know constantly. I always hope to learn something new. I watch a lot of people's anecdotal experiences. Victoria, I think her name is. I watched her 54-day fast, and you know, just to kind of see what her experience was, because that, I know I've watched plenty of people that have done these long fasts, and each one of them has a little bit of a different story or a little bit of a problem they run into or don't run into. And I like to compile that information to kind of find the commonalities, and it kind of gives you a better picture of what to you know, what to do and what not to do and shit. But thanks for that suggestion. I have, now that I've seen him, I have caught a few of his videos. I had to hear him talk too, because I listen a lot too. I don't always just stare at the screen. Let's see here. Let's put the chat back up, see what we're doing. Knuckles, fuck the drama train. Get off the train, walk. Drama train isn't going anywhere. The reason is that it pays pretty well as far as clicks and ad revenue goes. So the YouTubers will jump on it every now and then. I technically have when I did the Jillian Michaels video, but that was only because I got triggered. That shit pissed me off, so I had to get on and say some shit. So that's that's where I'm at with that. How are we doing on time so far? So yeah, we got about 10 minutes left before I call a close to this podcast and shit. So summer is on a Thursday. Hormones and our microbiome are driving hunger. How dare they? Well, true, and microbiome does play a role, and we're just scratching the surface on the science of that. But I do think the microbiome plays more a role in the addictive side of some of the carbs and sugar foods. I would say because of its direct connection to the brain, that it can be hungry for you, and we're outnumbered when it comes to bacteria. So if they want something and you're not giving it to them, they'll probably have a way of letting your body know that to eat it. So that's why you need to take care of your gut health. And glyphosate, it's not going to take care of your gut health. It's going to destroy your gut health. So that's why that grain's got to go and shit. So, not to mention your hormones with all the sugar and shit mixed in with that. Sugar is what really throws this control of food intake out of whack, the whole hormone system. Sugar's a big player in that. It's one of the reasons, it's one of the first things that you should probably cut back on, because fructose overconsumed overwhelms the liver and totally fucks your liver up, causes insulin resistance, and then in turn all the carbs you're taking in drive up your insulin levels, and you're eating it 2-3 times a day. It's a whole nightmare. We've been through it all. We know it and shit. Let's see here. Knuckles, laugh all loud. All my friends are Diablo 3 are bitching at me for not playing with them. I told them to shut the hell up. I'm doing something more important. Well, thank you. I didn't realize I was more important than Diablo 3 and shit. But I honestly, I'm bored with gaming. Like every once in a while I try and pick up, like I play what the fuck? Divinity Original Sin 2. I put a lot of time into that game, but lately I've just been kind of bored with gaming in general. My latest kick has been honestly learning to day trade, because I like learning. I actually get more fulfillment when I'm doing an activity and I throw myself into it and I'm enjoying it. And learning. Not to say I'm going to get rich doing this. Like I put $100 into Bitcoin and now I'm playing around to see if I can grow it to 200. If I can grow it to 200, maybe I'll invest $20 a month into it and do that whole compound interest thing. But right now I'm just enjoying the process of learning finance and trading in general, and it could be applied to stocks if I ever wanted to get into that. But you never know. It doesn't hurt to have extra income streams. So if I can do some investing going forward and maybe grow my income a little exponentially, and I'm enjoying that, and because I'm spending my time doing that, not gaming, I would argue that my time is a little more productive than gaming. I just don't get the enjoyment out of it I used to when I was a hardcore gamer. So I can hear you. Maybe you're starting to wane on the gaming there, Knuckles and shit. So let's see here. What else we got? Oh, let's see. If I want to learn, not watch drama, says Ann Hughes. Why do you feel Oh, this is a good question. Why do you feel you will be happy at 186 pounds? The lowest body weight I've gotten to was 179 pounds, and that was in a non-alcohol scenario. It took some extra fast to get down to that level, and I didn't stay there that very long, but I did hover for my set point for a good 3 or 4 months in the upper 180s. And first of all, when you lose weight, anybody who knows lost weight knows this, you have body dysmorphia. So you always see yourself as a fat motherfucker, no matter what, and Lord forbid anybody calls you a fat motherfucker, because then that just really hones it in. So when I look in the mirror, I still see fat me. Now I'm smart enough to know that I'm not, I got the numbers, I got the measurements. I'm not fat me. Fat me was pretty big. And you can go back to some of my first few videos and see how fat me really was. Especially I left the I don't speak French bitch, because I was actually heavier in that than my first vlog. Even though I was a dick in that video. That's what happens when you're in a truck. You become a dick. That's why I'm Scott the Truck Driver and shit. I got sidetracked there. But basically, I was happy when I was in my mid 180s. When I was normal BMI, even though BMI is bullshit, I agree. Because if you build a lot of muscle, obviously you will have a higher BMI and not necessarily be overweight or obese. I don't know. It's, to me, I know the health ramifications of keeping my belly in the 36-inch range. And when I was 185 pounds, I was at 34 inches, I think I got down to around the belly. It's, so I'm up a few inches from that right now. And I'd like to have that comfortable fuck up pad, in the belly region, to where if I went off the rails and had like a cheat weekend, I'd end up at 36 inches, where if I do it now, I'll end up at 38 inches, which probably not a good idea. Not that I'm planning to go off the rails, but I would like to have a little space between me and the upper limit of what is considered healthy for the belly fat region. My arms, legs, face, all the rest of me, I am fine with. I'm great. I don't have an ass, so I don't need to worry about that. But overall, that was my goal for 185. And because I got to spend a little time in that range, I'd like to get back there again. And I know that the biggest reason I haven't is because I brought alcohol back into the mix. I didn't want to believe it. I tried every other food I could think of to get rid of. But I have drank consistently, and my plateau has not moved. So that just means, and it also went up a little, which is why I did this last fast. So I need to take the alcohol out. I'll let you know when I 100% commit to that. And I need to fast for a while to get rid of the fatty liver and maybe move my set point back down to the 180s. And that's why I think I would be happier. There has nothing to do with aesthetics or trying to look fuckable or anything. I just want to have that health buffer to where I'm a little healthier than I am now. And I know I'm not healthy now because of the alcohol. So, yeah, and shit. I need water. Mouth's drying out and shit. It's getting dehydrated, using all my electrolytes while I talk. All right. Oh, let's see here. Living and learning. I'm going to get going. Thank you, Scott the Truck Driver, for all the great info and conversation. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks all of you who have come out tonight. This has been kind of a fun show, like interacting with you guys pointing out shit for me to watch. Psychic, I'll leave that. I'll post that. Sub to PewDiePie to keep the internet honest and shit. I do watch a lot of that kind of conspiracy shit too, mainly because I'm a anti-media, mainstream media at this point. So I do watch it, keep up with a lot of people that are taking on the biased media. That's part of a little bit of politicalness in me, and that shows on Minds. Like, I've been posting shit on Minds periodically about that kind of stuff, all because I'm pissed off about the Patreon stepping their foot in, and Twitter banning people, and people that suck, mind you, that I don't necessarily agree with anything, but that doesn't mean I need them silenced for me. I'm not going to be butthurt if I hear an opposing viewpoint, or even someone that's mildly insulting and offensive. And some of the people they banned are just mildly offensive, in my opinion. And that's a slippery slope that I don't like to build a house on, so to speak. That's why I left Patreon, because fuck Patreon. And I'm glad, because there's even more bullshit coming out about Patreon right now with the whole, they're not profitable, which means they're either going to raise their fees or they're going to offer more paid services or some shit. And I'm just like, oh, you're going to do that and be woke at the same time? Not sure that's the place for me to build a business at. Thank you very much for that, especially when really you can do all of this. I just learned that you can do subscriptions through PayPal on my website. Since I put that link up, I put Bitcoin up there. Not that anyone is on there yet. I think it's still a niche or a little out there non-mainstream thing to do, is to be in Bitcoin. But Venezuela's on board right now, just saying. But yeah, Patreon isn't offering me anything that, or anyone else for that matter, anything that's worth their cut. You know, when you can get less of a cut just going it on your own, taken out of you. PayPal doesn't take as much. Though they can deplatform you too, which is why I got into Bitcoin in the first place. So, you know, these are all things. Decentralization, I believe, is the future, though. Platforms like Minds and BitChute, they're like the first front runners in what I believe will become a booming industry as these social media titans begin to crack down on everyone. So that's my tinfoil hat shit. See, we all have our conspiracies and our tinfoil hat shit, and some of us are right, some of us might be off. Doesn't hurt to question and really be like, hey, what's that all about? And shit. So let's see here. I don't even want to post that comment. So see, I get to see all the fucked up comments that YouTube censors for me. All right. Sorry, I'm clicking through some shit. All right, let's see what else we got here. Alcohol. Let's try a group dry spell starting tonight. Discussing later in the podcast from Keto in the UK. By dry spell, I assume you mean alcohol. Hey, I think I might be done. I haven't committed yet. I want to think about it a few more days. Because I really feel like a failure that I failed at moderation. And let's face it, I did. You know, I made those videos before saying I want to be able to drink moderately. It's not impossible. I can do this shit. And you all were like, no, you can't. No, don't do it. You piece of shit need to stop drinking and shit. And I just kept on doing it and doing it and doing it well and shit. And yeah, so I failed at moderation. And I'm admitting failure. And I think a dry spell is in order. Not giving it up for the rest of my life. You know, there might come a point in my life where I'm like, okay, I don't want to live much longer than this. You know, so maybe I can afford to have a few extra drinks or maybe even some carbs. You know, but that's a ways off. I'm in my 40s. When I'm 70 or 80, I might give a less of a fuck at that point. Especially if, you know, my health still catches up to me because all the chemical shit that we're dealing with. So, Tammy wrote, Scott the truck driver and everyone, great support and conversation here today. Much love and good health, everyone. Well, good health to you, Tammy, and shit. Good health and shit, because shitting is good for your health, I think. That's why we do it. Pretty sure. If you haven't shit in a while, it's probably not a good thing. And thankfully on carnivore, I shit pretty often. And ketovore. I feel like that name's taken, but whenever I tried to look up ketovore, it was just like one person that has like the name, and there's like no real blog articles about it or anything. So I think that should be a thing where you kind of combine mostly carnivore with a little bit of plants, you know, and call it ketovore. I think that should pick up. That should be a thing. Someone has the patent on that. I didn't patent it. I just noticed it and say, that's what I'm going to call my version of keto, where I don't eat hardly any fucking plants and shit. All right, we're going to wrap this up here pretty soon. We're at the 2-hour mark, which is more than anyone's willing to watch this afterwards. Way more. Let me see if there's any more. All right, summer is on a Thursday. I like the idea. It's just committing. I assume you're talking about the everyone commit to dry. I will post a video when I do commit, and we can sit straight up. And I realize I'm hiding behind this fucking thing all day. I will let you all know when I commit, and for those of you who want to follow in solidarity, and it's a healthy thing to do, especially if you have fatty liver or you're stalled in your weight loss, or maybe your keto isn't doing what you want it to do. This is a possible variable that you could remove and see how it affects you, how your set point goes after the alcohol's been gone for 30 days. or longer. And I will say, they say you could regenerate your liver in a matter of a few weeks. There's science that shows that, but I don't feel like even during my almost 6 months not drinking, even though my weight was brilliant, and my waist measurement, the belly measurement was dead on. I still don't feel like I got all the way there, but that might be the body dysmorphia thing going. So I will post a video on YouTube as soon as I'm ready to say, okay, this begins my sobriety. Maybe I want to have one last hurrah, maybe next weekend, and be like, all right, after this, nothing more for at least 60 days. And 60 days of sobriety, and then see if I want to come back at all, if I miss it being social and drinking and all of that and having a good time. We'll see how that goes. So let's see here. Rachel, I knew there would be no number. I'd be happy and put the scale in the closet. I knew there would be no number and I'd be happy, so I put the scale in my closet. I still weigh myself every day. But it's more of it's not that I care. It's just I want to stay in my range, and it's an indicator to me if I step outside of my plateau range, my set point, so to speak, which I give myself 8 pounds of leeway on. When that number creeps past 198 into the 199, 200 range, I can usually figure out why that is. And this time, I believe it was definitely an overconsumption of alcohol, combined with not doing any intensive fasting. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, yeah. And for me, it's always the belly measurement, too. I want that to be below 36 because that's proven statistically, it's epidemiology and shit. But that's kind of associated strongly with better health in terms of you not surrounding with you don't have as much visceral fat when that area is below that half your height, which for me is 36 inches. For you, it's half your height. The circumference around your belly button should be half your height. In men, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing for women, but women tend to hold body fat elsewhere, which is perfectly healthy. Not to say that they don't have their share of visceral fat and fatty liver. I'm not sure if that same formula applies to women. I would look that up. But for men, it's supposed to be half your height and circumference around your belly button is healthy. So if you're under that, you're probably all right. You're at lower risk for metabolic disease at that point. Psychic Outlaw, Chanel, I want optimal health and energy. You won't do a dry fast, but you still drink alcohol, which you know to be poison, so why not experiment for 24 hours? Because I know all I got to do is get rid of the alcohol. Dry fasting is not on my list of shit to do. I'm not for dry fasting. I will never advocate for dry fasting, simply because there are some people who don't hydrate properly, and if you throw a dry fast on top of that, and trust me, I've been dehydrated, I know how dangerous it is. I know how deadly it can be. You forget, I do the survival stuff. I go out in the woods, and if you fuck up out there, you don't come home. And one of the keys to survival is staying hydrated. There are plenty of people who die pretty quickly by not drinking water in the wilderness. It is not a new concept. And dry fasting doesn't change that. Forcing yourself for short periods of time to be dehydrated, yes, you'll have amazing weight loss results from that. But that weight comes back as soon as you put the water weight back. I have lost 8 pounds in dehydration. In fact, that weekend that I did the binge drink that led to me getting sick, that led to me doing this fast, I went from 199 pounds, because I lost a pound just at the start of this. And when I got up, I was so dehydrated, I weighed 194 pounds. And trust me, I did not feel good or enjoy any of that. Now, I've also water fasted to where I was not hydrating adequately because I wasn't doing electrolytes. I wasn't doing snake piss or whatever the fuck it was. And I've dehydrated. And I know, I don't like it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be thirsty. And I don't want the risk involved because electrolytes, if they get out of whack, if they get out of balance, if you fuck up with a dry fast, you will be in the hospital. Or you may even die. That's why I will never advocate for a dry fast, and I don't want to do one myself because it's unnecessary, really. You don't need to push yourself to extremes. And yes, I drink alcohol. It's a poison. I'm acknowledging that. And I'm acknowledging that that's why I'm not as healthy as I could be. I'm willing to cut my alcohol consumption, and I believe that'll get me the results that I want. I do not need to resort to that and adding on a dry fast or doing a back-to-back water fast or doing a 21-day water fast or a 50-day water fast. I don't need to do these extreme things. I'm patient. I know if I take a nice, steady approach, and I've done it before, and I can do it again, it's a repeatable result. I know what I have to do. It's just a question of committing to do that. I know I don't have to do a dry fast to get there. I know I do have to get rid of alcohol to get where I want to go. That's where it kind of is, And one could make the argument, well, if you're dry fast, you can keep drinking. No. I don't want to risk it. There's too many risks involved with dry fasting. That's my opinion. It's up to you in the end. You might have knowledge or experience with dry fasting that I don't. I have experience with being massively dehydrated, and I can tell you it's not something I want to put myself through, and I don't feel the need to. So I hope I don't piss you off, but I just disagree strongly with dry fasting is all. It is what it is. So let's see here. I think I need to wrap this up. We're at 2:08. It's a good. I'll do one more. I'm kind of like enjoying this, hanging out with you guys. So, Knuckles, Scott, this has been one of the best live streams I can remember. This has felt almost like a face-to-face conversation. I wish they could all be like this. I may live stream more. It's a pain in the ass to get set up, and I don't like coming on here without a topic. Because I know people watch this later that don't necessarily make it to each ones, but it is currently, I plan on doing at least one of these a month, and I may sporadically, spontaneously schedule an occasional live stream here and there. I know that there's a lot of YouTubers doing it right now, and then I would be competing with them in their live streams, but I do like the interaction, and that's one of the reasons I want to keep doing this is to get more real-time feedback. The comments work well, and I read a lot, and then I kind of do a generalization to address most of what I read in the comments, or I respond directly in a comment. But speaking of dry fasting, oh my god. But yeah, there'll be more streams. It's just a question of time right now. I've got a lot of client work that I'm backed up on right now. But my calendar is going to open up a bit next month, and as long as I don't fill it again, maybe I'll have time to spend. I do want to up my video content too. I've upgraded one of my cameras. I've got a new vlogging setup. I've got the GH5. You're actually watching me on the GH5 right now, or at least you were until the battery ran out. So yeah, so that's a good indicator that it's time for me to go. The battery just ran out on my GH5. So even though you can't see me, I just want to say thank you all for coming. Please check out ScottTheTruckDriver.com. Sorry, the battery died, and I don't want to change it. I've got to end the podcast anyway. That's what I get for going too long. So check out ScottTheTruckDriver.com if you found this enlightening and you want to help support the channel so I can spend more time making content and less time with unappreciative clients. let me know by donating in the tip jar, a virtual tip jar at ScottTheTruckDriver.com, or you can go to the support section of ScottTheTruckDriver.com and contribute with Bitcoin, or you can contribute through PayPal, and you can even do a subscription type thing through PayPal. I've just learned that. I don't know nothing about it, but somebody started doing it, so I'm assuming that's a thing. Or you can just shop through my affiliate links on my blog post. There's usually always an Amazon link in there that if you click through and you start doing your Amazon shopping that way, that'll also help the channel. Or if you click on one of the products that I put in the Amazon ad, that helps too. Thank you all who contributed to Super Chat tonight. I'm just going to read through it, make sure I got everyone real quick. So, yeah, thank you to Lori, thank you to Isabel Reyna, Gloria S., Helen Guilford, and I'm sorry I butcher names. I might be butchering names there. Melissa Cocker. Thank you all for your contributions tonight, and that helps me keep doing this, and maybe it motivates me to do more live streams too, so we'll look at that going forward. If you liked this 2-hour session, I do have podcasts for just $5 a download. I will be running a sale at some point on some of the earlier podcasts coming soon. But you can already pick up some of my earliest ones for just $2 a download. I may be adding some like a compilation pack at some point just to free up some space and make it cheaper to listen to my shit for those who are patient to wait. But keep in mind that if you pay full price for that podcast, you are helping contribute to supporting this channel. And thank you all for this wonderful podcast and shit. Now I'm going to play my exit credits, which I haven't updated because my hard drive has crashed, and all my files for the credits, with the exception of this last render, were on there. So I got to do all that from scratch. Hopefully I got some footage somewhere. I hope this... If I don't get my hard drive back, I'm going to be busy fucking shooting B-roll and creating new intros and titles and credits and shit. So bear with me over the next week or two in videos. So good night, everybody. And thank you for helping me out and asking. This was a good session. I enjoyed today. So we're going to do more of this shit. Have a nice... Oh. Wait a minute, I almost fucked up my outro. It's because I can't see myself. I don't know. It's weird. It's like we're just talking. There's no picture. I could be doing anything right now. I could be fapping and you wouldn't fucking know it. Anyways, I am not an expert. I am just an asshole with asshole opinions and shit. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you made it through this 2-hour video, I'd say that's worth clicking the subscribe, maybe even the fucking bell. And have a nice motherfucking day and shit.